The planet we live on has a lot of water. We're talking 71% of the Earth's surface being covered in water. 96.5% of that water exists within the vast and deep oceans that go across the globe. Although water also exists in rivers, streams, lakes, and in air as water vapor, the majority of it is in the ocean. But how much water is in the ocean? In other words, how deep is it? Well, today we're going to find out in this video that'll answer the question, how deep is the ocean? Before we dive in, make sure you click the subscribe button and the notification bell. Okay, so let's talk oceans. First off, did you know that Live Science estimates that there are 352 quintillion gallons of water in the world's oceans? That's a heck of a lot of water. Heck, we didn't even know quintillion was a number. What does that have? Apparently, a quintillion is 18 zeros. Yeesh. Anyways, it really makes you stop to consider just how big and deep the oceans actually are. Chances are you've taken a trip or live near a beach where you've taken a dip. But have you ever really thought about the size of your body in comparison to the Great Blue? Well, today we're going to take a trip down to the bottom of the ocean, all the way from the surface. All right, so let's start at the beginning. If you take the highest point on land and submerged it in water, you'd still have more than a mile and the deepest point in the oceans. Boy, that sure is deep. Now, let's go down to about 330 feet, where blue whales hunt. This is considered to be the well-lit part of the ocean, but something tells us you wouldn't want to be caught that far down, at least not without a flashlight and some scuba gear, or a harpoon. Hate to go on a tangent here, but we just love whales. They're big, they're gentle, their songs put us to sleep. What's not to love about them? Enough about whales for now, and let's continue our journey to the bottom of the ocean. From 330 feet, we go down to 700 feet, where we take a quick look at the journey of USS Triton. In 1960, the USS Triton was the first submarine to go around the entire globe, and it did this at this depth. Awesome! Keep swimming downward, folks, because now we're going down to 831 feet. Here is where the deepest free dive in recorded history happened. But don't go trying this at home, dear viewers. Most human lungs would crush under the amount of pressure at that depth. But our friends, the whales, managed to go as far as 1,640 feet deep. At this depth, they hunt giant squid. Whales have been found beached and suffering from squid-related injuries, so things must get pretty intense down there. All right, let's continue our quest to reach the bottom of the ocean. As we keep going, we get to 2,400 feet down. 2,400 feet marks the danger zone for modern nuclear attack submarines. If it were to go any deeper, the submarine's hull would implode. If we keep going a couple hundred more feet, we reach the tip of the tallest building on Earth if it were submerged. If the Burj Khalifa in Dubai was put in the ocean today, it would go down 2,722 feet. Now, we're going to take you all the way down to where the sunlight doesn't reach at 3,280 feet deep. This is known as the Midnight Zone. This is where those of you with thalassophobia might be having some real issues, if your lungs weren't imploding. This is also where you might start to see some very strange and even terrifying creatures. Why don't we introduce you to one of those Midnight Zone crazy spine-chilling residents? The anglerfish. This horrific creature is a carnivorous deep-sea fish that is quite possibly the ugliest creature on the planet. According once again to the experts at National Geographic, its most distinctive feature, and possibly where it gets its name, is a piece of dorsal spine that protrudes above their mouths like a fishing pole. The fishing pole is tipped with a piece of glowing flesh that attracts prey and brings them close enough so that the anglerfish can eat them. In a display straight out of a nightmare, the anglerfish can open its petrifying jaws so wide it can swallow things twice its size. Now that you're sufficiently freaked out, why don't we keep going? It really is a world of its own down there. For example, did you know that at 7,500 feet deep, there are hydrothermal vents that can heat near freezing waters to 800 degrees Fahrenheit? There are also eyeless shrimp that feed off the hydrothermal vents, as if things couldn't get any more strange or creepy. At 9,816 feet deep, we reached the lowest point any mammal has been recorded swimming. It was a Cuvier-beaked whale. However, when we go even further down to about 12,500 feet, we can see a familiar sight. It's a setting of the 1997 movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet, the RMS Titanic. It's obviously a lot less glamorous than at the beginning of the movie, as right now it's just a shipwreck sitting on the ocean floor. Next, we move to the ocean's deepest trenches, known as the Hadal Zone. Right now, we're at 20,000 feet deep. Yeesh. The famous Mariana Trench is one of the places that falls into the Hadal Zone. Looks like it's reached celebrity status. We had to take desperate measures to get down here. Now, let's go down to 35,756 feet, where, oh gosh, who's that? Well, it's none other than the brave explorer and director, James Cameron, the greatest pioneer. In 2012, he descended to this depth for the Deep Sea Challenger mission, presumably because James Cameron doesn't do what James Cameron does for James Cameron. James Cameron does what James Cameron does because James Cameron is James Cameron. However, that wasn't even the record. Oceanographer Jacques Piccard and Lieutenant Don Walsh descended to the lowest point on Earth, Challenger Deep, in 1960. This was 35,797 feet below the surface. Since then, scientists have sent a bunch of unmanned submersibles to the bottom of the ocean, but none of them will be quite as impressive as those two manned missions. And so here we are, Challenger Deep, the lowest point in the ocean. It's so dark and gloomy down here, but hey, at least we can discover new species. Oh, wait a minute, how are we supposed to get back up? Leave your thoughts and suggestions in the comment section below and try to make it quick. Are thalassophobia acting up? Enjoyed this video? Hit like, share, and subscribe to Curiosity. Wait, why not fulfill your curiosity by watching these other awesome videos? Go ahead, choose the left or the right video and enjoy.